Let's toss up our Mentor. We're gonna gain 10 life when it dies, right? It's too much. Look at the power of these tokens. Yeah, we just bash in for just an obnoxious amount of damage. Welcome back. Thanks for taking the time to watch Hello Good Game. We're back with another Zendikar Rising pre-release deck. This is Selesnya tokens and a very aggressive aggro deck. Wow, I was not expecting the power of some of these cards, like a Luminarch Aspirant. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. I was worried because it's a 1/1, fairly weak, right? And then we also have, one of my new favorite cards, Oran-Rief Ooze, a 2/2, also fairly weak. And when it enters the battlefield, you get to put a +1/+1 on target creature you control. And then whenever it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. So that can kind of get out of control. So the deck is obviously based around going wide, putting lots of +1/+1 counters on everything, and then just bashing your opponent. It's fairly straightforward and it works well. So as always, we're breaking down the deck list in its entirety, talking about each individual card. Then we'll talk about the deck's strategies, the synergies, how do all of those cards come together to form a really well-working, coherent archetype. Then we'll watch some gameplay footage where we smash in some people. It's absolutely insane how powerful this deck is and how quickly it can win matches. Finally, we're talking about, any deck changes we want to make to it as we continue into the new meta. Obviously, these are day one decks, so they're not perfect yet, but they are a good shell to begin to work from, right? And then we have any, channel thoughts and future plans, blah blah blah, a bunch of more stuff that you probably don't care about, right? So let's get right into it before I ramble on any longer. We have 4 copies of Swarm Shambler. This is a 0/0 that enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. Pelt Collector's gone. We needed to fill the 1-drop, and this does it perfectly. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it becomes the target of a spell an opponent controls, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. We can also pay 1 to tap it, putting a +1/+1 counter on the Swarm Shambler. That is very, very neat, right? So whenever your opponent is trying to interact with your field state, because all of our creatures are going to have +1/+1 counters on it, we get to create a 1/1 green insect creature token, and that allows us to go wider. So if they remove something, we create something. So it basically just replaces itself, and then we can, put a counter on it on our end step to, use a little bit up of that mana if we have any. We have the Ozolith. This is an old card from Ikoria. Whenever a creature leaves the battlefield, if it had +1/+1 counters on it, you're going to put those counters on the Ozolith, and then at the beginning of combat on your turn, if the Ozolith had counters on it, you get to put those counters on a creature, or I guess a permanent of yours, which is really cruel. Sorry, just target creature, not permanent. Stonecoil Serpent, again, another great card. This one's from an older set as well, from Throne of Eldraine. It's a 0/0 with reach and trample, protection from multicolored, which is insane, and it also has protection from Ugin, basically, as long as you play it for more than 3. And it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, again staying true to the +1/+1 counters theme of the deck. Into our 2-drops, Conclave Mentor. Now this ties the deck together in such a big way. If 1 or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a target creature you control, put that many plus another +1/+1 counter on that creature instead. So we're putting +1/+1 counters on everything. Whenever we put a +1/+1 counter on a single thing, it gets an additional. So if we put 1 counter on everything, they actually will all get 2 counters from the Mentor, which is just absolutely crazy. And when it dies, we gain life equal to its power, which again is not uncommon to get it up to a 10/10 or something. So just having 10 life to regain on the field is pretty cool. Scavenging Ooze, only 2 copies of this. We could have worked in more, but at a certain point we wanted to showcase some of the new cards. It's a 2/2 in which we can pay 1 to exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, put a +1/+1 counter on Scavenging Ooze, and you gain 1 life. It's just amazing for taking care of things from the graveyard, like Uro, Woestrider, of the such. Next up, we have one of our modal faced cards. On one side, it's the land that enters tapped as a plains, Sejiri Glacier. And on the other side, we have Sejiri Shelter. This is an instant speed spell for 2. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until the end of turn. Luminarch Aspirant, we talked about this already a little bit, a 1/1 human cleric, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Into our 3-drops now, we have 3 copies of Basri Ket, a legendary planeswalker, coming in with 3 loyalty. His +1 ability is put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. It gains indestructible until end of turn. -2, whenever 1 or more non-token creatures attack this turn, create that many 1/1 white soldier tokens that aren't human for some reason, that are tapped and attacking. -6, you get an emblem with at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 white soldier token again, and then put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So we talked about putting +1/+1 counters on everything with the Conclave Mentor that will turn into 2 +1/+1 counters. Here's a great way to be doing it. And this will trigger, as it is an emblem, every single turn. Skyclave Apparition. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. It's a 2/2 spirit. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with converted mana cost 4 or less. Typically, we don't see this kind of value. It costs 3 and it's exiling 4 or less, plus it's a 2/2. That's pretty cool. So there's a little bit of a drawback here. And then when it leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's owner creates an XX blue illusion creature token, where X is its converted mana cost of the exiled card, right? So they get the body on the field. It's a token, so it's you're easily able to deal with it, but it is a little bit of a drawback. But as far as I'm concerned, if you can scoop up something for 4 and then not have this removed, that is amazing. It gets rid of that blocker, it helps us go wide, and we can just continue to bash in with our army of token creatures. We talked also of Risen Ooze, but Oran-Rief Ooze, because Risen Reef, right? It's a 2/2 ooze creature. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It could be itself, it could be something else. And then when it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. Into our 4-drops, 4 copies of Basri's Lieutenant, a 3/4 human knight with vigilance, protection from multicolored, similar to the Stonecoil Serpent. Basri's Lieutenant enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever Basri's Lieutenant or another creature you control dies, if it had a +1/+1 counter on it, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. So, we're going really wide with all of these counters. If our opponent removes them, boom, we're right back wide with 2/2 knights that have vigilance. We have 2 copies of the Great Henge for 9. It does cost X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Again, it's not uncommon to throw something up to 7 toughness to drain this down to 2 quite quickly. And again, it supports the archetype as well. We can tap it to add 2 forests or green to our mana pool, gaining 2 life as well. And whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it, which is awesome. And then draw a card, which is even better. We have to include some of the new Mythic modulo lands. This is the Turntimber Symbiosis for 7 sorcery speed. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. If that card has converted mana cost 3 or less, it enters with 3 additional +1/+1 counters on it. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. 3 additional +1/+1 counters, that's insane. 3 or less is going to happen when you do look at our deck and the rest of the mana curve. The only thing we have that's not 3 or less is Basri's Lieutenant, right? And then on the other side, of course, we have the land. It enters tapped unless you pay 3 life, which is the situation with all of these Mythic modulo lands. And, that's just great to have a forest and a sorcery as well. These lands, of course, are accompanied by some land, 7 plains, 4 Branchloft Pathways on one side, and on the opposing side of the Expedition land, I believe these are called, or Pathway land, sorry, not Expedition. This is a Pathway land. Boulderloft Pathway, obviously there's Pathway right in the title. So these are like really good lands as far as I'm concerned. If you've got rares to sink, these are where they go for the lands in Zendikar. Of course, we have 4 forests as well, and then 4 Temple of Plenties. The land is very well balanced here. It might be a little light, but you do not need that much land to operate. You get to 3, you're basically done. 4, and you're cooking. That's the deck list. Let's begin to break down some of the deck strategies, synergies, opening hands, common misplays, all of that jazz. We talked about the synergy of Conclave Mentor. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature you control, put that many +1/+1 counters +1 instead. That's insane. So we're talking about our draw hand normally first. Conclave Mentor in your draw hand is like a sign me up, yes please. the Ozolith is also amazing to have in your draw hand. So if you can go, and I know Ozolith might not be the best turn 1 play, obviously the Shambler is a better turn 1 play, or even the Stonecoil Serpent, but it's nice to have it and then just have great foundation to play the rest of the match from there. So even if you're not dropping it on turn 1, to have it and drop it, you know, maybe on turn 3 while you drop a 2-drop to spend all of your 3 mana, it's really nice to weave in that way, but you still have to have it, is the thing. So the Ozolith, I love. The Conclave Mentor, I love. The Swarm Shambler, yes, just because it is that 1-drop, and obviously we can't use this as a 6-drop later on like we can use with the Stonecoil Serpent. So as a priority, I try to go Swarm Shambler over Stonecoil Serpent, just so you're really riding that curb up quite nicely. If we need to remove something on our 3-drop, the Apparition's amazing. If not, we push forward with the Ooze. Again, you can put the counters on the Ooze, and then when it attacks, it gets those counters. If you have the Mentor out, it's going to be doubling those counters. So it kind of just pops off really quite aggressively. If you need to protect yourself from anything, we do have the Shelter. You could also use the protection to go in for lethal. If your opponent has a specific color of blocker, you know, you can use the protection, give one of your big token creatures, you know, protection from the color of that blocker, and then you can get right in to the health points, which is really, really cool. We talked about removing the blockers with the Aspiration. Basri helps you go wider, right? You know, it can also gain indestructible if the attack doesn't look too hot for you. You don't want to ever lose your Mentor. You know, you don't really want to ever lose your Reef Ooze, and you definitely don't want to lose your Apparition. So it's important to protect your high value creatures. Things we can be losing is like the Stonecoil Serpent pretty easily, right? That's about it. Once we have Basri's Lieutenant, you know, that equation does lighten up on us a little bit. It's more friendly, and we can lose those creatures without being hurt as bad because they're replaced, and chances are we've gone wide enough that we can just kind of get enough damage in around the sides. Anyways, draw engine through the Great Henge, you know, play anything, draw a card, play it, and it's just like a repeating cycle. That's quite nice. So, again, opening hand, my favorite cards, Ozolith, Conclave Mentor, the Reef, stuff like this. The Apparition, you know, it's great to have removal as well, and then maybe fill it with 3 land. 2's a little light, 3 lands ideal, and maybe an Aspirant on top. So just stack those tokens, go as wide as you can. If you know you're getting hit with removal, they should go to the Ozolith and then just to another creature, you know, on the upcoming turn, and then everything that's getting removed is just being replaced. So you should be able to fill the field faster than your opponent can erase it or remove it. So that's the deck tech. I hope you guys enjoyed, learned a little something about the Selesnya token build in Zendikar Rising. We're going to get into some gameplay footage. If you found any value within this video so far, don't forget to give me a like, a thumbs up. It looks great blue. Share the video out to a friend as well. That would be awesome. So enjoy today's gameplay footage. Don't forget to watch to the end for my closing thoughts on this deck and future content plans. Let's get at it. We've got our turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. If we can pull the lands. Let's hold off now on the pathway. We'll play that as late as we can so we can decide what we want to play it as. Because obviously, we want to play it as a green because we have multiple greens. But if we don't pull planes, we have to pull it as planes, just like this. Mentor in the house. Now we just need to top deck lands. Oh, this is a land, actually. You silly goose. 3 life for it to not come untapped. We might have to do it. Arrow in play. This is some Temur shenanigans. Fable Passage without the Cobra in play. That's acceptable. Having to pay a life here. Not having to, but wanting to. We get our attack in here. We've actually not played with Conclave a lot. Alright, it just puts double counters on, and then when it dies, we gain life equal to its power. A user submitted deck here from the community. That's why I'm a little unfamiliar. And the sun is right in my eyes. We're gonna have to fix that somehow. just big hits here. Ooh. They land as well. Are we gonna get wiped or just Ugin? I guess that's the same thing, right? The new pet's pretty cool. Right? You gotta respect that. Whoa, right? Slow down. Terror. Okay, now this is something I can actually accept happening. We get to 4 or less, though, is the thing. Let's still just push it. Cast for 3. The Mentor gives it tokens, which is great. These are big hits that need to be blocked. The Goose at least has to block the 10-10, right? And then we're still hitting for 8, which is aggressive. It's too bad that the Terror is 5, not 4. We could have snagged it with our Skyclave Apparition, which is pretty neat. There's not enough in the graveyard yet for Uro to be played as a creature, but they could have a second in their hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If they have, you know, another forest to be played, then we're worried about Genesis Ultimatum. This light. We're gonna have to deal with that. Stonecoil Serpent gets smacked for 6. The counters do go to the Ozolith, though, which is, like, pretty nice, right? Basri's gonna bash down next turn as well. We can't play both, which is a bummer, right? It's a bummer that we don't have another planes. Let's just maybe take the draw. That's the land, but it's a little slow. The Swarm Shambler is, like, pretty deadly. Let's toss up our Mentor. We're gonna gain 10 life when it dies, right? It's too much. Look at the power of these tokens. Yeah, we just bash in for just an obnoxious amount of damage. Good game, ma'am. Well, it's not bad. It's definitely not our last hand. I think whenever we can get that Mentor going early is going to be nice, though. Do we need this 4th land? That's going to be the question. We'll decide a little later. We'll push our Mentor out. I think we do need the land, actually. There's not enough planes present. Like, we need to play Basri is the thing. Whoops. Well, that's an issue with the new lands. Do you see how quickly... Like, that Snapcast out... We're so lucky to pull another. But we missed our Mentor drop. Let's drop our hand. Whoa! Jesus. Man, what a bummer. It just, like, went right into play. That's on me. It's this high-quality precision mouse I've got going. Cowards can't block. Oh, the Arc Priest of Iona is good. Let's just try to go wide. Let's push it up. You know, a 1-1 is pretty weak, so we want it to survive some stuff. Thank you for the Twitch Prime, JG. Really appreciate the support. Alright, we don't have like a particularly good hand, but... Alright, cowards can't block. Our Aspirant is such. Our Ooze is also a coward. And we're getting bashed for a good amount. No blocks. Into another Intimidator? Nice. I'm not going to be paying life for it. We could give ourselves protection and trade. Let's push up our Mentor, because that's going to gain us life on the backswing. We should really smash, because they're going to gain flying, and that's annoying. I guess we could have smashed, went for the trade, and then given ourselves protection instant speed. That probably would have been semi-beneficial here. Because, of course, cowards can't block, and they can do that 3 times and actually hit us for lethal. Good game. We've got nothing. There's no cards in the graveyard for us to exile. That's absolutely just incredible. What are the chances that you get 3 of these Intimidators? A little bit misplay off the start with the land, but at the end of the day, that's just great luck. Woof. Boros coming back. That's a... Why did Iona not attack? Interesting. I mean, we're still far away from doing anything. This just goes into our hand. Oh no. Top 7, 1 to the battlefield. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we don't have enough land for that. Oh! The 2 life will help. We can't play Basri. It's really our only option. I think this is just game, right? We just take our hit, you know, relatively close, gain the life, end turn. Good game. Wow, how hard is it to find our 3rd land? Hello. Check out Thrix's YouTube channel, everybody. It's awesome. It's not nearly as popular as it should be. I don't know how people get the new pets. Let's get our Shambler in play and just battlefield the 1/1. We could hold it, which I think... Nah, because we have our Reef to play for 3, so let's just get it out there now. It is what it is. Oh, awesome. We pull our 3rd land. Okay, we need plays as planes. We've seen that misplay last game. Awesome. Mentor's in play. Let's get that 1 hit in. We have our Reef Ooze in next, and I don't know if you guys were around for Ravnica, but we had Biogenic Ooze that created Ooze tokens, and then all the Oozes got stronger. Man, Oozes are a pretty cool creature type. They never have enough to support Tribal, but... Or that, you know, maybe in Modern or Commander, but definitely not in Standard. At least as far as I've been around. Yes! We should probably just buff the Mentor, right? For that life gain. And then we can also attack here, which is really quite nice. 4 damage, they'll probably just take it. We have our Apparition, which should be able to exile anything they play here. Specifically that War Leader. Right? And then the Hollow Blade can't block after this. We take the War Leader. And we'll be putting 2 tokens on something, right? Oh, no, we need our Aspirant in play. What am I thinking? We can't put a token on them, though. And that's quite nice. We could also Stonecoil Serpent for 1, but I think we're better off to just Shamble. And I'm also not sure why it doesn't light up, because we should be able to play this for 1. Seems strange. Yeah, Hollow Blade's really cool. We used to have a Danto Vanguard. Again, I think this was from Ixalan quite a while ago. You know, just the ability to gain indestructible is... Whenever you attack with one... Ooh, that's quite nice. Sorry, let me pull this up here. Whenever you attack with a player with 1 or more equipped creatures, draw a card. And then we can pay 1 to give an equipped creature indestructible by de-equipping it. Let's go nice and wide here. Am I only allowed to play 1 creature a turn for some reason? Like, what is doing this shenanigans? It just seems weird that it's not lighting up. I think it's still going to allow me to play it, which is great. But it's just, that must be a user interface bug. And then we're going to buff up some of our guys here. Right, let's just do the Mentor. We gain so many tokens. We could attack with the Ooze as well. Right? Whenever the Reef attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. So by doing so, we can double the counters and put those counters right into the end zone. Nice. We took a little long to break that down, but, you know, it's a brand new deck, so... Not this guy again. How hard is it to find land? Keeping 6. We do have 3 land, potentially. Oh, Basri's Lieutenant is good. But the Ooze is nice as well. You know who survives Ugin? Stonecoil Serpent. Hello. We can play our tapped lands while playing the Ooze next turn. Nice, there's the Cobra. We can get it off the battlefield next turn. They'll take this damage, they can't lose the Cobra. Uh-oh, here it all goes south, boys! We've seen the power of landfall. This is not gonna be good. Yeah, Stonecoil Serpent plus Lotus Cobra? Oh, wow. So you guys seen, hopefully seen, our last deck, which was the Temur Lotus Cobra Landfall deck. Stonecoil Serpent would go in that deck. We had like 70 mana to use that we just had to like throw away. We could sink all of that into Stonecoil Serpent, and we talked about getting haste as well. The Serpent already has trample. Wow. We're gonna edit our deck, and we're gonna come back swinging. You know, our opponent's got a really good play here, and they'll probably beat us because landfall's so busted, but wow. So, do we grab the Cobra or do we grab Omnarth? It's a really weird question. I think we have to grab Omnarth. And then we still get a decent Bastion. There's no creatures to discard. Down to 11. The extra land sucks, but it's not quite the Omnarth ramp. Into an Uro, into another land. Oh, as long as it's not a Fable Passage, let's be honest. A Goose, okay. Okay. We're taking Uro now. If only we could play both of these. Let's get our Aspirant out. I think it needs to go on our Apparition because we don't want it to die from a Cobra trade. We still get a decent hit. Woo, 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 woo. Down to 3, we're getting close. Are they gonna annihilate us next turn? Yikes. Hopefully taking their Omnarth was enough. Another Cobra, uh-oh. That's terrifying. All right. They've got 3 land up into a Cultivate off into a double Cobra, so you know they get that land, which does come in tapped, but they get the dual mana trigger from the Cobra, so back up to 2 in their pool. Ugin incoming, I know, right? We had to end this game before Ugin hits. They can't play it off 2 land in their pool. We're okay. They play another land, they go to 4. I think we're in a decent spot here. Not enough for a field wipe, right? Good game. They don't let us finish them off. Oh well. Woof. What did you guys think of Selesnya tokens? That's pretty powerful, isn't it? I'm speechless. I'm almost as speechless as the landfall deck. It's seeming that Zendikar Rising is tough, like 2Fs tough. You know, Dimir Rogues is really powerful too. There are such good decks available within almost every archetype right now. Yesterday we took a look at Temur Landfall and absolutely broke the mechanic with the Cobra and the Green Warden. Today we are busting through Selesnya with these tokens, and up next we do have a Rakdos aggro deck that focuses around the party mechanic as well. So, you know, hitting this content hard for the beginning of the season in Zendikar Rising. Absolutely loving some of these new cards. The module cards make it so much friendlier, you know, for myself and other beginners as well. It's a land if you need, so your hand's not too awkward, or it's that huge finisher that's not super great value, but still better than a land late game. So let me know what you guys thought of the deck, of the cards we've chosen to include here. Is there anything that you would have not included that's kind of weird? Is there stuff that I just blatantly missed and had the blinders on that should go into the deck? Let me know. We're going to try to get this list tweaked and improved as much as we can for you guys, so it is a force to contend with within the new Zendikar Rising meta. You know, I had a lot of fun playing it. thank you so much for your time and attention. Your support is amazing. If you want to support the channel, that would be awesome too. You can do so on YouTube, Twitch, and Patreon. Thank you to all of our previous support for making this a possibility for all of us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Take care, and we'll see you soon with another Magic the Gathering Arena video.